Agnes loved old things. Dusty books, chipped teacups, faded photographs. Each held stories, whispers of the past. One Saturday, she wandered into a new antique shop, yesterday's treasures. The air hung thick with the scent of beeswax and forgotten memories. A glint of gold caught her eye. Tucked away in a dusty corner, nestled in a bed of faded velvet, lay a wig. Not just any wig. This one shimmered with an otherworldly glow. Its golden strands seemed to writhe and pulse with a life of their own. Agnes, inexplicably drawn to it, reached out a hesitant hand. The shopkeeper, a stooped old man with eyes like polished agates, materialized by her side. "Ah, you found the Karen Wig," he rasped, his voice a dry whisper. "A word of caution, madam, it's not for the faint of heart. It holds a certain power." Agnes dismissed the shopkeeper's warning as mere theatrics. At home, she held the wig up, its golden strands cascading down her fingers. Hesitantly, she slipped it onto her head. The world shifted, colours seeming more vivid, sounds sharper. A surge of energy coursed through her, filling her with a peculiar sense of purpose. Later, at the supermarket, a cashier scanned her groceries twice. Normally, Agnes would have let it slide, but today felt different. A wave of righteous indignation washed over her. "Excuse me," she boomed, her voice ringing with newfound authority. "I believe you scanned my yogurt twice. I'd like to speak to the manager." The cashier, flustered, immediately rectified the mistake. Agnes, leaving the shop, felt a thrill of exhilaration. It was intoxicating, this ability to command attention, to bend the world to her will. From that day forward, the Karen Wig became Agnes's constant companion. Long queues, lukewarm coffee, misplaced parking tickets. Nothing escaped her newly empowered scrutiny. She became a whirlwind of righteous fury, leaving a trail of apologetic staff and flustered bystanders in her wake. The world, it seemed, was full of injustices, and Agnes, armed with the Karen Wig, was their champion. A group of teenagers playing loud music in the park was swiftly silenced. A barista who dared to misspell her name on a cup was subjected to a scathing lecture. With each successful confrontation, a sense of heady power surged through Agnes. She revelled in the fear in their eyes, the scramble to appease her, the satisfaction of bending the world to her will. But beneath the surface, a seed of unease began to sprout. One evening, Agnes found herself arguing with her neighbour, Mrs. Naidu, about a misplaced dustbin lid. Mrs. Naidu, usually a cheerful woman, looked pale and shaken under Agnes's relentless tirade. Later that night, plagued by guilt, Agnes snuck a peek at Mrs. Naidu's flat. The older woman sat alone, her frail shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Agnes's stomach twisted. Was this the power of the Karen Wig? Was this who she had become? The next day she tried to go about her day without the wig, but the world seemed dull, muted without its golden glow. The queue at the post office felt unbearable. The barista's cheery greeting rang false. The urge to don the wig, to reclaim that sense of control, gnawed at her. The struggle was short-lived. The lure of the Karen Wig proved too strong to resist. Agnes was back to her old ways, her voice sharp, her demands unreasonable. The smallest infraction sent her into a spiral of righteous rage. The power, she realized, was addictive. It fed a dark hunger within her, a need to control, to dominate. People became obstacles to be overcome, inconveniences to be eradicated. The warmth and empathy she once possessed were fading, replaced by a chilling sense of entitlement. The shopkeeper's words echoed in her mind. It's not for the faint of heart. It holds a certain power. He hadn't been exaggerating. The Karen Wig was changing her, warping her into something monstrous. One day, Agnes encountered a young mother struggling with a crying baby and a mountain of shopping. Normally, this would have been prime Karen territory. But as Agnes watched the woman, her heart ached with a long-forgotten empathy. She saw the exhaustion etched on the woman's face, the way she gently rocked her baby, whispering soothing words. Agnes felt a pang of something unfamiliar. Shame. Shame at the person she'd become, at the countless times she had inflicted her own brand of righteous fury on unsuspecting strangers. For a fleeting moment, she considered offering help, a kind word, a gesture of support. But the moment passed, and the familiar surge of power, the urge to assert her dominance, rose within her. The Karen Wig had her firmly in its grasp. Agnes's world shrunk. Friends and family, weary of her constant complaints and criticisms, drifted away. Her days were spent in a cycle of petty conflicts and manufactured outrage. She had become a caricature, the embodiment of everything people dreaded encountering. One evening, catching her reflection in a shop window, Agnes barely recognized the woman staring back. Gone was the kind, gentle soul. In her place stood a stranger, her face pinched, her eyes cold and calculating. The weight of her actions pressed down on her, suffocating her. The thrill of power had long faded, leaving behind a bitter emptiness. The Karen Wig, once a symbol of control, now felt like a suffocating noose. Agnes knew she had to break free. She locked the wig in a drawer, vowing never to wear it again. But the separation was agony. She felt adrift, lost without its insidious power. The world seemed dull and grey, the people in it flat and uninteresting. The wig called to her, its silken strands whispering promises of control, of respect, of power. Sleep offered no escape, her dreams haunted by visions of herself, a monstrous wig-wearing tyrant lording over a world cowering in fear. The struggle was the hardest thing she had ever faced. The Karen Wig had burrowed deep, its tendrils wrapped around her very being. But somewhere, buried beneath layers of anger and entitlement, a flicker of her old self remained. Agnes stood at a crossroads. Would she succumb to the seductive whispers of the Karen Wig, forever trapped in a cycle of anger and control? Or would she find the strength to break free, to reclaim the kind, compassionate woman she once was? The weight of the decision pressed down on her. The wig, locked away in its drawer, seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, its golden strands a tangible representation of her own internal struggle. The ending, for now, remains unwritten. Agnes's fate hangs in the balance, a testament to the seductive nature of power and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The choice, ultimately, lay in her hands.